create a new project from scratch. Let's say it's a single view application. Go next. Let's call it test app Evernote Vira. It's a really big name. I'm just going to make it test app Vira. Class prefix doesn't really matter. We are going to use storyboards. Storyboards, for those of you who don't know, is quick tool. It's a nice tool for prototyping. I don't really like to use it for actual apps, but it's a nice tool for prototyping. We'll save it in documents. Okay, so if we run our app just this way, let's see what happens. It's just a blank screen. So it's a little bit of a challenge to work on the screen because can't see much, but I'll try. Okay, so this thing here is the UI that you just saw. So I'm going to add a button that will let me log in with Evernote. So there it is. Let's call this login. So a really nice trick in Xcode is to hit that tuxedo icon there. If you look at it really closely, it's a tuxedo. And you get the corresponding header file for this button. So generally it looks a lot better on a bigger screen, but you control drag from the button to the header file. Let go. You want to create an action. Login with Evernote. Let's call it that, and hit enter. Alright, let's get rid of the tuxedo. If you see the .h file, there's a login with Evernote function, and the .m file, which is the implementation, also has login with Evernote. Now let's install the Evernote SDK. Not install, download. SDK iOS, all open source. Just hit on this button, the zip file. Download the zip. You open the zip file, go into the folder, and you'll see an Evernote SDK iOS folder within that. Just copy that. Go to documents, test app Vira. Let's create a new folder here called external. Let's paste that folder in here. Let's add this to our project. So it added the Evernote SDK. Couple of things we need to do before we compile. So if I can see the rest of the screen. Okay, so there's a build. Can actually get rid of this. There we go, some more space. There's a build phases thing. You need to link a couple of libraries. One of them is security. The other one is StoreKit, I think. So security was needed because we need to store your auth token from OAuth into a secure location, so we need that framework. And StoreKit lets you install the Evernote for iOS app if you need to. So let's build it to make sure it builds okay. Okay, we're good till now. We need to copy a bunch of things. So in the README file on GitHub, there is this piece of code. Did finish launching with options is exactly what happens. Like this function gets called after the app launches, so it's pretty descriptive function name. Just copy all of this. Your project will have an app delegate file. In this case, it's called TW app delegate. Find the did finish with launching function. Paste the code in here. It's complaining that it cannot find Evernote session. That's because we need to import the header. The Evernote SDK header will pull in everything needed. Build that. Did it succeed? Yeah. So, okay. So now we need to log in to Evernote. For that, you do something like this. I could have typed that in, but it's just easier. I'll explain it. So you just get the Evernote session object and just call authenticate with view controller, and it'll do the rest for you. So again, it's complaining for the Evernote file, so just include the Evernote SDK. And if the session is if not authenticated, it will come in here. If it's authenticated, it will come in here, and we can log in nslog auth complete. Okay, let's run it. It's not the best design. Chris will be mad at me, but I hit login, and it complains that it threw an exception. So let's see what the exception is. Doesn't have a valid consumer key secret. So once you get the key and the secret, you can paste it in. Again, don't look at my passwords. And you have to just paste it into the app delegate code that you pasted. You just put your consumer key in here where it says your key and your secret. And let's give it another try. There you go. So it will let you log in with Evernote. You just enter your username, password, and which I won't do on screen, but once you sign in, it will go into that block there which says authentication successful, which is in here. And once you're authenticated, so say you do the auth once and you kill the app, we save the auth token for you in a secure place. So if you reopen the app, you don't have to keep authenticating. If you do a bunch of other things in the README, if the Evernote for iOS app is installed on the device, it will actually switch to the Evernote for iOS app. So the user doesn't have to enter the username, password and authorize that way. So I'll just show you how to make API calls now. Again, from my first talk, we get the Note Store. Note Store is the thing you use to call all the Note APIs, and you can do list notebooks, and that's it. That's the way you use APIs, and basically you need to create a better UI and call all the Evernote APIs, and you'll be good to go. So this is a really simple. So basically, the Evernote SDK integration on an average takes about 5 to 10 minutes. It's not very complex, and it's the same for Android. It's very similar. We also save the auth token. You just pass in your activity controller, and we show the web view in the same way, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to set that up as well. Yeah, we have getting started guides for iOS and Android. The steps I showed though is the simplest way to get started if you're looking to make an app. Can I answer any questions?
Did you say that the API keeps the session on the background for if the app goes to background or
yeah, it doesn't really keep a session. It's just the auth token. The auth token is just a string, and we store that in a place called the keychain on the iOS device, which is a secure place for all your data.
But you also do the renewal?
If the auth token expires, yes, we have in the iOS SDK, we have code in there that does check for expired tokens, and it will automatically show the authentication screen again.
Okay, so the other thing you need is to integrate with that.
That's it.
For the auth.
Yeah. If you want to check yourself, you can also do that using the Evernote session check for expired token. And the Android SDK has the exact same structure and architecture. So keeps going off. But yeah, any other questions? It's pretty simple to get started. Cool. I'll call in Chris again. Thank you.